When she spoon and like a BB moment, which is like a beautiful black moment. Did we get any of those in this episode?
Black.
We have a chaotic vibe moment of the
Chaotic vibe moment. And you're watching Black by Reality.
Black by Daddy.
And those who love us.
Hello, you are watching and are listening to the Black by Reality podcast. I am Nicole, your host, and we're back for another Love is Blind season 7, which of course means Quita Tinsley is back. Hi. Okay. Oh my God. We have another season, and this one's in Washington, D.C.
Oh my God. I'm actually in D.C. right now, and it's just pure coincidence. But I have to say, after we got the treat that's Love is Blind UK, the Americans aren't really giving. I mean, they're giving, but it's like...
Yeah.
Something different. I'm like
something different. Washington, D.C. is a very black place, and that really was reflected in the couples in the cast this season.
It was.
So that's interesting. Also, I think the political conversations we got going on this season.
Oh, interesting. I mean, honestly, just watching like the Meet the Cast, I was like noting how many folks were in the military and like in ways that I hadn't noticed with previous casts. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, it's not that surprising, I guess. So yeah, let's jump into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, I got Everyone's Sun Sign literally from Netflix. This is what they do when they list the cast and everything. The first people we're going to talk about is Garrett and Taylor. Garrett is a Taurus. Taylor is a Pisces.
Okay.
Yeah, Taylor really had made an interesting choice in the pods. She was one of those of like, I am here not to be judged on my looks. She then starts talking about her family, and she's like, we all call my mom by her first name because it's so great in a very respectful way. You won't, but also I won't be telling you what her name is because it gives away my ethnicity. The tailspin Garrett went on. He didn't even think about race.
He was shook.
He said so much that I wish Taylor just sat for a second and processed with him of what he was processing, because girl, I think this was a red flag.
Honestly, I think it was a red flag on both sides.
Yes.
A little bit. It's like a lot of Asian women do experience people exotifying them in like weird and gross ways. So maybe she was trying to avoid that, or trying to avoid any like racist thoughts or stereotypes from Garrett. But when she essentially made it clear that she was a woman of color in some way, right? Garrett lost it. I mean, he was like, I've only ever dated white women, but like, but then, being like, it feels like you're being calculated or like strategic.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah.
Is it that deep?
It is deep. We cannot ignore the country and like the state that we're in. And then Taylor here is taking the chance of, I'm not going to talk about my ethnicity with this white man. And I'm like, is this what one of the benefits of being a black woman is? Because it's like, we can't set that aside. We don't play like that.
No. And my thing is like, I want you to know my race, because if you want some weird stuff, I'm not trying to get engaged with you. I'm not trying to keep going on this like emotional intimacy journey with you if you're like racist or like weird, or like anti-black. Like, no. So yeah, for me, it felt very interesting that she was like, no, I don't want you to know what I look like. Because I'm like, okay, if you were just to say you were Asian, that is a big assumption, because like Asian folks can look a myriad of ways, like someone who's Vietnamese might not look the same as someone who's Sri Lankan, might not look the same as someone who's Filipino. So it's just like, I think it's like, I get she didn't want him to project anything onto her, but I'm just like, you can't control
If he did, that would have been your sign to go. Like, why are you prolonging this process?
Exactly.
If he is racist, it'll come out. Like, and he literally slipped up and said he was shocked, then tried to walk back saying that he wasn't shocked. Like, girly, this is when we listen and we put on. He literally said, I've only dated white girls. And Taylor's just like, but I want you to love me for me. Boo boo. Your ethnicity is part of you. It's literally where you come from. You say you can't say your mother's name, or it might exclude you from a white dating pool. All the other ones are talking freely about their cultures and themselves getting no closer their man. And I can't really blame Garrett if he's like, you kind of playing mind games now, because what are you hiding? And she was like, oh, I don't want to come off as like calculated. I noticed later she really has a problem with the words he uses in regards to her sometimes, because he was like talking about how they're both aggressive. He used aggressive, and she was like, I'm aggressive. And he's like, well, I mean both in our careers.
Right.
And I'm just like,
yeah. I mean, they are both kind of intense people.
Mm-hmm.
She likes banter a lot, but she uses like that dry humor. So like, you know, like, okay. I like them. I like that they're very nerdy together. I mean, aside from that particular thing, yeah, I really like them as a couple. I thought it was really great the ways that they clicked with each other. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both into science. Kind of gave Lydia and Milton. You can check out my interview with Lydia on this channel, guys. But beyond that, I'm sorry. I can't get over how he reacted to her just not being white. Because what was he really scared of? And what was he shocked by? You know? Like, that's very interesting. And yeah, they seem fine, but we see that teaser.
I know. Ooh.
And Taylor, this is why we don't do first or anything like that. Because, okay, maybe Garrett's ex reached out. Maybe they can be cool. We're queer people here. Some of us are friends with our exes. We're not the whole team. It has to be negative. But we obviously see Taylor is like, you need to shut this down. And I want to bet race is going to come up soon. Because I can't imagine Taylor just forgets that this man said he never dated anyone who isn't white. His white ex comes up and he's still leaving open the door. It's like, why? Because maybe you got what you did not expect, or what? So we'll have to watch these two.
We will. And the way his mama was talking to her in the teaser, I was just like, I'm gonna need you to calm down, ma'am. Like, will say, to me, their meeting, their reveal felt a little awkward.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't stand out to me as like, oh, this is so romantic.
No.
It would have to be awkward because he didn't know what the heck he was going to find.
That's true. He's just
more
like,
so than everyone else.
Right. He's like, I have no clue what this person's about to look like. Like,
imagine. Like, most people are like, tell me about your family. She can't even go through her whole family history because she wants to hide her ethnicity.
Right.
All right, let's talk about our first messy love triangle. I know I usually wait till the end, but we're gonna split the love triangles. We got Leo here and Aries, which I knew it when he started coming for yelling at Hannah. Aries. Hannah is an Aquarius. Very interesting. And Brittany's a Cancer, which it's given. It's giving Cancer.
It's giving water sign energy.
Absolutely. She's like, I'm intuitive. I'm so smart. I'm intuitive. So Leo has a very interesting backstory in that he comes from money. He's an art dealer. He inherited the family business because everyone died of cancer.
I was like, oh, that's sad. That's like really sad. Like, oh
That's
my God.
This man is traumatized. Okay. So yeah, he talks about that. He says he's blessed a lot. And this is the thing. This is the thing when rich people actually get on TV, because real rich people with money, family money, usually stay away from television for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I clocked how many times he called his inherited money blessed,
Mm-hmm.
which is giving the whole, what's it called when Christianity is like, oh, the godly people get all the money?
Prosperity
It's
gospel,
given,
yeah.
it's given prosperity gospel. Don't look at where the family money actually came from. We're just blessed
Right, right.
and lucky and all of these things. And I'm just like, word. Okay. He hits it off with Hannah. So him and Hannah click because of,
Well, when he said he was an art dealer, she was like, oh, that's a cool job. And then she's like, do you like Van Gogh? And then I
yeah.
feel like, like they were like clicking about that. And they were talking about Europe and traveling and adventures and all of
Yes.
that. I
Yes.
feel like she momentarily kind of like unknowingly kind of like cosplayed that she was like familiar with that culture, because then later on when he's like, like, I'm usually hesitant because when women know what I do, that I'm an art dealer, and she's like, I don't even know what that was.
Exactly. And you know what I
Okay.
wrote? I was like, I think he got more turned on because he was like,
Mm,
and I can teach you. And
mhm.
men love explaining things. So he was like, oh, don't worry about that. I can teach you. And then he's talking about, oh, we're twin flames. What do you know about her?
Great question. What do you actually know about this woman? What have you learned about her?
She also starts talking about vampires and how she would turn him. And then he's like, you're very mature. And I'm like, he literally sees her as the young, dumb one. And he's like, that's what I need in my life. I don't need no hardness, no hardship, which he would have gotten hardship. He just didn't know it yet.
He just didn't realize.
He just didn't realize. But Hannah's giving easygoing, not pressed. Brittany wants to appear like she's not pressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he smelled the
Mm-hmm.
the trophy wife off of her, and he's like, I know I'm expected to want this thing, but I don't want this thing.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean,
this,
yeah, it's like Brittany was a safe choice, right? It's like a woman who would easily blend in into his life, like she doesn't have her own ambitions or like a really career oriented, like, like.
I don't think that's true though. I think he smells that Brittany's very ambitious, but the ambition is to get a rich man. The
Yeah.
ambition is to live a certain lifestyle. After
Right.
he's talking about my biggest insecurity is that a woman wants me for my money,
Mm-hmm.
which I did hide. I wrote down that why didn't you hide that? You could have been just like Taylor, not saying a word about your money. See if these women actually liked you for you. This is the one time you could have done that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you wanted to talk. So now
Right.
you'll never know. And on top of that, later on, when he tells Brittany, oh, well, I have multiple options, she's like, I know. And I wrote down, because he's talking about his money to people.
It honestly, when I think about Leo, I'm like, how much do we actually know about Leo outside of the fact of like the tragedy with his family and that he's rich?
Yeah.
It's, I'm like, he uses being an art dealer and having all this money as his entire personality. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, so who are you? And how are you learning about these women that you so-called love or falling in love with? Like,
For sure. While Hannah is really into another person as well. Nick.
Mhm.
D.
Now they're both Aquarians.
I feel like they're so different. I wonder what their other ones are. Now, Nick, he used to be an All-American kicker and punter for the XFL and something else. I don't know what those things are, but good for him.
CFL, yeah.
Yeah, he's
I like
obviously very proud of
yeah.
himself.
Clearly.
Yeah. And he's charismatic. All the women are like, oh, you a smooth talker. Nick commits the ultimate white sin by saying that he's hotter than Travis Kelce and Hannah's hotter than Taylor Swift. I was like, the way I don't care about those two people, yo. I'm so done with hearing Travis Kelce mostly. Hannah's giving young.
You know who Hannah started to remind me of at a certain point?
I know who it was.
Chelsea. Yeah. I was like, yes. I was like watching it. I was like, oh, it's giving Megan Fox.
I think that Hannah is a hot woman. The problem is that Hannah's not confident at all. And when I had one theory when I first watched this, and she was like kind of dead on when she apologizes to Nick later, because she was just like, you know, I was scared that you were going to hurt me. You're giving very confident. You're giving you must be the hottest guy in the world. And I'm actually very scared you're going to be disappointed once you see me. And he's like, well, I don't even know what you look like. Like she was saying, she was accusing this man of objectifying her, which sometimes I'm like, this is also like a woman just learning feminism a little bit. Because it's like, obviously we all know you're going to the beach after this. Like there has never been any other kind of trip. It's not out of the realm of him being like, I can't wait till we go on vacation after we get engaged and I see you in a bathing suit. And she's like, he objectified me. And everyone knows I'm hot and men like you treat me like this outside, but then you're like, but then I also gained weight and I lost 40 pounds. And it's like, girl. Another layer of what happened in this dynamic. I think that Hannah got real jealous of Nick's confidence.
Yeah.
And after when she sees him, she beats down that confidence even more. She's like, how dare you have me sweating when you look like this? How dare you think of yourself as hotter than Travis Kelce, and you're giving this, you're not even taller than me. And now she's making goddamn bullet points to chip at his confidence even more. Because how dare you feel so good about yourself when I don't feel good about me?
Exactly. And that's my thing with why she reminded me so much of Chelsea was like when she was in the pods, she was trying to like position herself as also being confident and like men only want me because I'm hot. But the moment they got in, or honestly, she was spiraling in the pod and you started to see actually she is deeply insecure. But yeah, once they got in person, it was like she couldn't keep up the facade anymore. And she's so insecure. And you're right, her insecurities, then she's like, well, I'm insecure, so you shouldn't be confident. And you being loud and you riding a duck and you talking to another woman makes me so insecure. And like, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, I was just like, I was so confused when the thing happened with the woman because I was like, this is an older woman, right?
Here's my thing. Because it's still, he's happy. I don't think she likes that he's happy. Because she's not happy. Because what is your problem with this man riding a duck? And then here's on top of it. We're not supposed to get into this yet. I was talking about the other love triangle. But it's okay. We're in it now, and I'm fired up because this man doesn't have the insecurity of I'm a grown man riding a duck on television. Hannah is like, no, I'll get the ick. But then another woman comes, has fun with your man. She don't care. Yes, it is an older woman, but that older woman also seemed confident as hell. She's also wearing a freaking bikini. She don't care. They're having fun. And then what did Hannah add to that woman saying bitch about her?
Exactly.
It wasn't bad enough. She had to lie to make it worse. And that's when you know you're in the wrong.
Exactly. Because that woman said, oh, she's jealous. Don't be jealous.
And you were jealous. You later admit, finally, you were jealous. And then you want to talk about respect. You disrespect me. He wanted to write a duck. You wanted to scare him out of writing the duck. He did it anyways. And now you're like, but this is what respect means to me. And this is my problem with the word respect. And yes, respect can absolutely mean different things to different people. But sometimes some of y'all be misusing the word respect.
That part.
You just didn't do what I wanted you to do. And now all of a sudden that's disrespectful. Girl! He has agency. He gets to have agency.
He was writing
a duck.
That was like she keeps bringing it up and like arguing about it, and it's just like he wrote a duck. Like
now you're the girl mad about a grown man writing a duck. Like maybe he's a little kooky for doing that, but you're kookier.
You're kookier.
Mad.
Exactly. Like,
and wanting to write a bullet list. Calling him delusional. And then at the end, he's like, maybe I'm not the only one delusional. Girl.
It's like, you know you're not, Nick. You know you're not. If you don't like this man, just say that.
Just say that. She can't. But Hannah is a hypocrite. And a lot of straight women like this are hypocrites. You can't be anti-fat phobia and anti-objectifying women and at the same time be shady to smaller men. Because they go hand in hand, right? The whole belief that a woman needs to be small is because a man needs to be big. So you're sitting there, you're spinning out because you know you're not a size 2. He's talking about swimsuits and you're like, oh my God, I'm being objectified. But then you're like, I'm taller than you. And like, I wanted to wear my heels. I'm a tall bitch. I should be able to wear heels. But then you're like making like snide comments about him. You point out that like, or I think he admits he's blonde, he dyed it, and she's like, yeah, I can tell. And you have like grays and like just doing the most. If he ever talked to you that way, we would be dragging him for filth. But you feel empowered.
And I don't think he lied about his appearance. I think I was like talking to someone who watches football, and I was like, because we did know, I was like, oh, he is small. He is a smaller frame guy, right?
And I was like, punter. What did she say?
And that's literally what they said. Like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. He's a punter and a kicker. And I'm like, oh, so that also low-key means Hannah might not know a lot about football. But like, I'm like, is this another art dealer situation? It's like she thinks she knows what this means, but she doesn't, and she's running with her own assumption. And then she's like, he lied to me.
She dumped Nick. I was like, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it for Leo. Brittany's like, oh my God, a Leo. Oops. Was it an oops? Was it
because the way it happened, I was like, that feels a little messy, but
She a little messy. She was like, I see you. I up one. Like Hannah got shook to her boots. She immediately ran back.
Right. She was like, actually, producers, I need a date with Nick. Please stop him before he goes home. That's my man. I think I might love him.
She was not ready to go up against Brittany because she didn't want to get engaged. She probably knew she was ahead, could have gotten engaged. But then afterwards, if he saw everyone, she didn't want that.
Exactly. And this is my thing too, right? It's like why it is like, you have to talk about race sometimes when thinking about these things, because the reality is if Hannah were Black or like maybe potentially another woman of color, she probably wouldn't have these deep insecurities about her body. Because I'm like, the reality is she isn't fat. Yeah. She's just like tall, like, you know? So I'm just like, but through whiteness, right? Experiencing constantly being compared probably to small, petite women like Brittany, like blonde women like Brittany, right? And like feeling like
she is
should
the white
look
beauty standard, like
right,
literally.
right. And the moment that Brittany comes in, it's like, oh, and I was telling Leo, and Hannah was like, I can't compete. Like, I'm not even gonna try. Get my other man back.
Like, exactly. Also, Brittany gets embarrassed. Like, this is so wild. So, and also, okay, so how they make it seem, which I'm not gonna buy, because we have to remember this is Netflix, and Netflix has been called out for doing shady stuff with the edit. This is something we need to think about when we're talking about this show. But they make it seem like, okay, Hannah goes back and takes Nick back, but then she's still continuing with Leo. Leo's like, yeah, I'm interested in two of you, but I want to see it through to the end. Hannah's like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. And then he was like, oh my God, you're so great. And she's like, that makes sense because I'm going with my safe bet.
Period. She said, yeah, we keep going on dates, but like eventually I'm gonna cut this off because I'm not competing with Brittany.
Not doing it. I'm not setting myself up like that. So now Brittany gets shook because Leo freaking flat out says, oh, you're my number 2. You my second favorite, girl. If she wasn't there, you would be wifey. If Hannah wasn't there, you would be wifey.
But then he's like, and now after this date, you're both my number 1.
Brittany is like, you're killing me. But this is the problem. This is the problem from all of you little girls who want to be very delulu online, listening to the sprinkle and all of that, because this is what you really get when you get a rich man. He will sun you every single time. Even if he's gonna pick you, he gonna sun you over and over again, and he knows you're gonna take it because he knows what you're really there for. This is not about love or anything. This is a convenience. This is the most rich white-ish we've ever seen on this show, and I love it. These rich married folks hate each other.
They do.
They cheat on each other all the time. As long as you do not get caught in public.
Exactly. As long as you don't publicly embarrass me, I don't care.
Brittany's
do whatever
like,
you want to do.
Give me the rock I want. And like the rock he said was not unique. He's like, oh, she said, I don't want to answer. And this is another test. The test of the will. Brittany, is she the strongest or the weakest soldier? I don't know.
She's definitely the weakest. Like, I don't know. It was just like, for me, I can't stand Leo because I feel like he is manipulative. I can't say he's narcissistic, but he's very egotistical.
Oh, yeah.
At no point did he affirm either of these women. The only reason we know that Hannah was his number 1 at some point was because he was telling Brittany. Because at no point did he tell Hannah that she was his number 1. You know, I'm just like, and if those feelings about her, if the only way you can express them is to like check another woman about her position in line, then does any of this even matter? You know, it doesn't. It doesn't.
He was toying. Like he had Brittany right where he needed her, preying on that insecurity of like, I got this other girl. The other girl don't know nothing. And like, crazy. I mean, part of me is starting to think, did he want Brittany all along and he was putting her through trials and tribulations? I don't know.
I mean, I felt like he knew he could, he knew she could always be his fiance at the end of this.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like I think he was really intrigued by Hannah because he probably hasn't ever dated a woman like Hannah. You know, I feel like he was picking up that she was like a small town country girl. And I feel like he liked that about
probably easily impressed.
Exactly. I feel like Yeah, he because the way he even talked, like being like,
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like, I would never cross paths with a woman like you. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, is that a compliment or like?
Yeah, it's like the little experiment when you date a regular. A regular is like, ooh, this is so new. I get to show you all these things. Where Brittany's like, I've dated athletes, da da da. She said,
And rock stars.
if I wanted to marry for money, I would have. And I'm like,
well, why didn't you? Why are you here?
really? I don't believe that, because this man tried to shut the door on your face multiple times and you were like, more please. More please. Like, she always did little things to try and take her power back, right? She's like, what if I ghosted you after he said, and it's like, but you're not. You literally could. We've seen people leave the process, but you just
Right.
want to give that idea into his head. You're not actually going to do it. You're like,
Right.
I could do this to you,
but I won't.
but I won't. And it's like, okay, girl, like, you can keep trying. She says, I love you to him. He doesn't say it back. And she starts crying, covering her face. Is there any other horrific things he does to her?
I mean, he was just really playing games.
Yeah, he was playing games.
He was playing games.
Hannah, I guess, dumps him.
Yeah, tries to.
And he starts. This turned into a negotiation. Okay. This was not a proposal. This is not a huge declaration. He's like, wait a minute. Let me, whatever you hold, you think is of value, I must devalue that to make you feel stupid. So he's like, oh, you gonna get engaged? Is it because this man said I love you first? Like, do you even like him? Which is a good question.
It really is. I'm like, it's a valid question, but
I kind of hate that he's kind of right.
Exactly. It's like, this is a valid question, but you're not the one to ask it.
Exactly. So, and Hannah's like, oh, I don't know. And she gets frazzled. He keeps pushing. She literally says, I don't like this. And guess what? Producers, this is when you should have intervened.
Exactly.
This is literally when you're like, okay, and we're going to take a break. Everyone can go to the bathroom, because apparently you have to ask for permission for that. Let's go drink some water and have a freaking one-on-one. Someone is his producer. Producer, check him.
Exactly, because the way he was yelling and cussing at her was so inappropriate. It's like she went in there to break up with him. Essentially, he bullied her into giving him one more night.
Yes. For nothing. It was ridiculous. I wonder how long that went. That shouldn't have been allowed, and he probably shouldn't have been moving forward. You guys have how many lawsuits? Like, what are we doing here? The flags are up.
Exactly.
Anyways, so, and then she says no to him. Hannah says no to him for good, and he had the nerve to be like, well, can you talk to Brittany?
And tell her it was mutual.
The
way he was acting that next day, it was like he knew it was over. And so he's like, oh, well, now that it's over, let me rewrite the story. This was a mutual breakup. You know that Nick is for you, and I've always known that Brittany is for me. And it's like,
that's not what you said yesterday.
And that ain't what you were saying when you told Brittany she was number 2 when she came into that pod for a date.
Why are we rewriting things?
Like, stop lying.
Stop lying.
You feel rejected. You felt rejected last night. And now you're trying to rewrite history. But just take your L and marry your trophy wife.
I hope she gets some hell. I hope Brittany marries him and gives him hell.
You didn't see the update in the clip? They showed that after they get engaged.
Wait, I might have looked away. Is that why they're not on the trip? I was waiting.
Well, no, they weren't on the trip because there's a clip that shows after their reveal, and it's because they got engaged, and the producers didn't select them for the Cabo trip, and then they went on their own trip to Miami, and then they broke up weeks after that. Good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah. It's like right after Brittany's sitting there with his suit jacket on.
Yeah.
And then, before they go to the next couple, they like do a quick clip of like they broke up. Or they didn't get selected, because I didn't even realize there were 7 engaged couples that they showed.
So many.
I like lost count like until they showed that, and they were like, the producers didn't choose them to be one of the 6 couples to go to Cabo.
Okay.
And so I wondered why. I'm like, I wonder if his incident with Hannah is why they didn't choose him to go to Cabo.
I can only hope they're wisening up. I can only hope, but I doubt it. I bet like it was like, I don't know. I don't know what else happened there. We're going to have to wait and see, because that seems kind of convenient. just gonna say that. So yeah, I guess that then leaves us back to, and their first meeting was not great.
Brittany seemed like she was losing her mind.
I would be after everything. Like, what? So back to Nick and Hannah. She goes back to Nick and Hannah. Like, I mean, we mostly already talked about them. Is there anything else we want to say about this disaster?
No. Other than like, I just want them to break up too.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Hannah, leave that man alone. Like, if you're just gonna like belittle and berate him for his size, then just like leave him alone.
Leave him alone. We'll leave him alone. All right, moving on. All right, Tim and Alexandra. Oh my God.
This has been a ride.
These two, Tim's talking a lot in the pods. And he's talking a lot about how he lost his 2 sisters and moving forward with that. I was like, I'm actually not learning a lot about Alexandra. It's a lot of her comforting him. So, but boy, when we get out of those pods, we start learning a little bit more about this Leo. Alexandra, a Leo, Tim, a Virgo.
Yes. And I think we continue to see his inability to honor her emotional world. You know, because I'm like, it starts in the pod where he's very consumed with his emotional world, his story. We're not seeing him learn a lot about her, allow a lot of space for her vulnerability, and then that continues on. Or, you know, I think the big blow up at the end of their trip, I feel like really kind of highlights that.
Very interesting. We might have different takes on that situation. Okay. Again, we didn't actually get to see it, so we only got the retelling.
Literally don't know, but
yeah. So these two, they go with everyone to Mexico, and then everything seems fine. All of a sudden, he walked into that hotel room in the morning. I was like, he didn't stay.
You're right, but then another couple, Monica, from one of the other couples we're going to talk about later, does know that she was like, did it seem weird between them last night?
Well, they're like picking at each other constantly. Anything he can do to annoy her, he finds funny. So therefore, he's going to do it. She's like, no, I really don't like that. Stop it. But then it's like the most petty stuff as well. That it's like, you're getting heated over him saying like, what was it? He talked about his dog. I got the dog on me,
Emmy, yeah. He said that in the past. He's like, yeah, I'm that dog. I got that dog in me. And then he later talks about his dog. And he's like, that's my dog. And she's like, please stop.
That's funny. Let's have some that's my dog. He's like, I'm talking about my dog. And she literally was getting heated. I'm like, I'm sorry, Alexandra, but we gotta, this ain't it. Because you don't like this man.
That part. It was like it started to realize, like when she was telling him she didn't like his fashion, she didn't
I
like
was like,
that
oh,
hat choice when they were in the store. I was just like, I don't think you like this man, but
you do not
okay.
like this man. She's like very close to like calling him soft. Like,
Which when he said, yeah, like I don't appreciate being called out of my name. I was like, did she call him a bitch? Because I could see her doing that.
I don't know what she did, but yeah, it was like it was giving. They have this argument. He comes back in.
All right, YouTube, you know what it is. This is part 1 of the Love is Blind recap. Part 2 will be in the same feed. And just letting you know, this podcast is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I almost always have the recap in one nice lengthy episode. So please follow Black by Reality on those apps. If you're on the go, listen to them. And on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. What did you think of the whole love triangle situation that we broke down? And join us for part 2.